Back in 2015, originally we were going to be a brewery. My business partner and I got together. He was on the hospitality side of things. He wanted to open up a restaurant. That's the last thing that I wanted to do. I am a graphic designer. What brought me to Columbus was to attend Columbus College of Art and Design. I almost went to Ringling down in Florida, side note. But so I came to Columbus here over 20 years ago now to attend art school. I worked in the industry for about 6 years and then started my own design firm. Met up with my current business partner on a different project that he worked on, branding a juice company. And we started hitting it off, realizing that we wanted to work together in the future. Like I said, he wanted to do a restaurant. I wanted nothing to do with a restaurant. So I said, well, let's do a brewery because I like we had a different approach to a brewery that was a little different. This was about 10 years ago. The brewery boom was happening like crazy, but there was probably 42, 45 breweries just in central Ohio here. But we had an idea that we thought was going to differentiate us. But then we got wind of the law that was changing in Ohio. So up until 2017, you were not allowed having a restaurant attached to a distillery. It was illegal. So you could serve 4 1/4 ounce pours of alcohol. That was it. So when we got wind of this law changing in late 2016, we decided to switch to a distillery. My dad's lived in Louisville, Kentucky, now for almost 20 years. So the brown spirit side of thing was always of interest to me. And for me, I was either going to have to learn to brew, because I had never really brewed beer outside of, a couple 5-gallon, batches here and there, or I was going to have to learn how to distill. So I was like, yeah, I'll learn how to distill instead. So switched to this concept, found this building. We were the first restaurant distillery in the state of Ohio to be built from the ground up intentionally. The benefit that we have is you guys walked in here and saw 14-foot wall, 14-foot tall glass windows here that kind of look right into the production back here in the distillery. So when I was trying to figure out, what mash bill we were going to start with, the products that we were going to start with, we launched with a vodka, with a gin, and I want to launch with a brown spirit. We make bourbon from scratch here in-house, but our bourbon I did not want to release right away. So I started sourcing and blending whiskey too. So about 9 months before we opened up, I sourced over 100 different mash bills from almost 50 different suppliers to try and figure out what mash bill we were going to blend together, what products we were going to blend together to create what is now called Whiskey War, to allow our bourbon that we make in-house the proper time to actually age. So fast forward, what we were blending was the best blended whiskey in America in 2021, 2022, and 2023 at the San Francisco World Spirits Competition. So it's a blend of it's heavy rye with 2 different bourbons that round it out, and that's the blend that we put together for Whiskey War. Everything that goes into it's aged at least 4 years, and we're really more in the 5 to 6 year range on those blends now, which they just keep getting better and better. And then we start introducing second agings and third agings, double oaking it, triple oaking it, putting it into wine casks, putting it into cigar or amberana casks. We've probably put it into at least more than a dozen different styles of barrels since we've been here. And so we start creating a lot of these different product iterations out of, for the brand Whiskey War. And that's what we're going to be picking through today. So that's an extremely abbreviated portion up here.
That's been the last 8 years.
Yeah, and that's pretty much 8 years. So it was really easy.
I think we need some reference to the Chiefs football 3-peat.
Yeah, right. Right. Yeah.
Not that there's.
Yeah, for us in a business model way, it was the intention was, and with the space that we had back here, we started. This building section that we had was about 17,000 square feet. We had 9,000 square feet up front for the restaurant, bathrooms, kitchen, all that stuff. And then back here was about 8,000 square feet of space. Since then, the idea was let's scale bourbon production because the blending of Whiskey War was a stopgap until our own bourbon came out. Especially when, what I found that I really like is flavor manipulation. And blending different things together to create an exact flavor that I want. So Mike is my director of distilling production. This room right here, we produce about 8,000 to 10,000 bottles a month through this room right here. Everything by hand.
Everything's getting bottled.
Everything goes into that 6-head gravity fill machine. Everything's hand heat shrinked, hand labeled. We do have the idea of automating some of it at some point, but at this time, I actually love the fact that we do everything by hand and the consistency that these guys have back here. So we do everything at 50-gallon batches at a time, just mainly so extreme
filling from this
into that. But we do 350-gallon blends at a time, but we do 50 at a time so we can proof it exactly in there and then bottle it in a couple hours. So then there's no proof variation, for what's on the bottle. December and January, we emptied a crap ton, right? So those are all empties. We had originally, when we just had this side of the building here, this is a little 400 square foot room that now we just keep our finished bourbon before we put it into the barrels, and different grain neutral spirits that we source to make our vodka and to make our gin as well. So that used to be our barrel aging room, though. We could only fit about 180 barrels. You can stick your head in here if you want. It's tiny, but the big thing for us was untemperature controlled, so you can feel the temperature difference, right? So this was our rick house. So having it untemperature controlled was very important to us. Almost everybody in Ohio warehouse ages, and with warehouse it's really hard to get temperature fluctuations because most people, you have to have it sprinklered, and so you're not able to get it down to temp. The difference is, we acquired another 17,000 square feet over here about a year and a half ago, so we could build our brick house. And so this is what you're talking about, right? Instead of investing $3 million into that up there, we invested about, $600,000 into a build out of this room and another $2 million in barrels, right? So, but the difference on this room, which nobody else that I am aware of in the state of Ohio, these are 2 fans right here. This is an untemperature controlled room. So then you have 4 louvers or 4 vents that have louvers in them that open up when these fans go on, and we will suck whatever temperature is outside into this room. The pipes, the silver pipes you see, is a dry sprinkler system, so we can get this room down to, if it's 0 degrees outside, we can get this room to 0 degrees. We do events and stuff back here, so because there's a heater right here and we have another heater just on the other side of that, when we're doing picks like this, we don't really want it to be 20 degrees in here, else we'd be freezing our asses off.
Me and Brian are really annoying. You're like, nope, turn it down.
Yeah. But you can feel like if Dylan turned that on, it's immediate. We could stand right here and there will be an instant draft of cold air that will come straight through and out. And so it actually works really, really well close to the exterior wall. Everything in here, we get drafts and temperature variation that we talked about, right? But the coldest is against the wall. Everything goes right past these fans here, so you're always the coldest it gets here. So you get the most up and down temperature right here. So swings. This is why we learned that in that other room too. Up against the window wall, like on the left, that's where the stuff would always age the best. Interesting. So the green label is really the godfather of everything that Whiskey War is. Every single thing starts as the green label.
The green label is what, won the 3 years in a row?
Green label is what won in 2021.
Okay.
Best one in whiskey in America. Year 2, we did a double oaked version of our Whiskey War. That was a barrel select at the time, which barrel selects are these bottles here. That won in 2022. 2023, it was a double oaked Pinot Noir that won. So it was another barrel select that came out. So all started as this green label. Then we take the green label, the black label, proof down to 88. That's just your normal sipper that you can, drink anytime, put it into a cocktail, very, very approachable. Green label, full proof, full bodied, uncut, unfiltered. This is batch 102 and it's sitting at 115.8 on proof point. We flex between, for barrel proof, probably as low as like 113 and as high as 122, I think is what we've had in barrel proof. Usually we're in that 115 to 118, 19 range. So, but rye heavy mash bill, you get rye notes right up front, but a lot of then vanilla and caramel.
You say you're on 102 on this?
This is 115.
Batch.
Oh, batch 100, yeah, 102.
102. When you do the 88, how often do you have to batch for those?
So we are on batch. We're similar.
I really like I'm always recommending the 88 to people.
Yeah.
But even this that you just poured tastes better than the bottle that I had back in the studio.
Yeah.
It tastes a little bit more rich.
Yeah, 96.
So that's batch 96.
Okay.
What's interesting, right? So people, there's so many awards out there, so many types of awards. You know, for us right now, we basically submit to San Francisco and we submit to Barley Corn. Those are about the only two that we submit to now. San Francisco, put it in perspective for us, from 2018 to 2021, 3 years, first 3 years, we went through 12 batches of barrel proof. 3 years later, we're on batch 102. That's the difference. We were going through 4 batches a year on average. Yeah, that's what it was. We were going through 4 batches a year on average. Now we're going through 20 a year. You know, so
a batch of barrel proof every week to week and a half.
yeah. So
It's going into like 350 gallon.
Yep.
6 barrel.
we do 6 barrels at a time. You know, so we get 270 to 310, just depending on the yields of those barrels.
Starting off, we have the double oaks. So our whiskey war barrel proof, secondary aged in fresh American oak barrel.
Char level 3 hand toasted is the barrel that we use. We get it out of Speyside.
6 to 12 months, and then proof to 100 in the reverse osmosis water. And then as round 2, we had double modes. So that product that Adam talked about, that one best blended whiskey in America, on 2022, is just a third aging of our barrel proof. And then barrel selects wise, we have 3 after that. We have what I believe is the other side of Seelbach cask, the Armagnac Dessert. And then we have a Pedro Jimenez buck cask finish, so an XL. It's a 130 gallon barrel. And then finishing with the double oats that we talked about, we put into a French oak cap.
Blended with port wine. It's not aged in a port wine barrel. It's taking a tawny port wine, blending it together. It's 90% barrel proof, 10% tawny port wine. It's really nice. Usually sits around 102 proof. Really nice, buttery, plummy, all that stuff. And so we source some ruby ports and some tawny port barrels. We're like, let's age our whiskey and it's going to taste amazing. No, tastes like shit. So I don't know why. For some reason, the rye, like, I don't know if it's because it's a rye heavy thing.
Some things that on paper they should
be amazing, right?
But you get down to it and it's like, nope, this does not work.
We haven't told the story of whiskey, which we don't need to do now. I was joking, but while we have that mic on, we should, before we.
Do you guys know the story of Whiskey War at all?
I feel like I got it when we talked a long time ago.
Yeah, we might have.
But
But while the mic is on,
Is the mic even still on?
The mic is on. Wait, is it blink? It's red. Oh yeah.
we would be remiss
It'll go forever.
to not have that story.
Yeah.
Just because the two stories are High Bank and the Whiskey War, just to set the tone.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's a story, right? Westerville, Ohio, 1875. There was a gentleman named Henry Corbin that was trying to open up a saloon in Westerville. Westerville, at the time, and still technically today, is a dry city. Westerville is about 15 miles north here of downtown Columbus, Ohio. It is where my family and I reside. We have for the past 10 years. So 1875, Henry Corbin was trying to open up this saloon. There's a riot that happened outside. It was a heavily influenced Methodist area. Methodist College of Otterbein University was also established there. They did not want a saloon in their town. A riot happened outside. Somebody threw in 2 sticks of gunpowder, 2 sticks of dynamite into his saloon that night when he tried to open it. Blew the roof off. Literally, there's pictures from 1875, these black and white pictures with a roof next to the building. 2 years later, Henry Corbin rebuilt his saloon. Henry Corbin relocated his saloon just up the street, half a block up the street, right in Uptown Westerville, underneath the hotel in Uptown Westerville. Tried to open up his saloon again. Same thing happened. Riot happened outside. 1,000 people were out there. But as the story goes, so some backstory here. Westerville was home to one of the largest printing presses in the Midwest. Westerville also had the only Class A post office outside of a major metropolitan area in the whole entire country. The reason for that being because that printing press was in Westerville, Ohio, because of all the anti-Saloon League propaganda it was printing out and sending across the country. So as the story goes, a crazed and drunken Henry Corbin during this riot pulled out both his pistols and started firing them at men, women, and children to, disperse the crowd. The reality is he was firing them in the air. Nobody got shot. He didn't shoot anybody. He was firing those into the air to try to disperse the crowd. But it is said, and as it went, that a crazed and drunken Henry Corbin was shooting at men, women, and children. That is a story that was written and printed, sent out across the country, and it is said to have ignited the whiskey wars, which then led to Prohibition. So Westerville, Ohio touts itself as the birthplace of Prohibition.
Pistols.
Correct. So our two pistols is the two pistols that Henry Corbin drew out. The name Whiskey War is the fact that he ignited the whiskey wars, which then led to Prohibition for the United States. What's also a fun fact, as history progressed, the Anti-Saloon League, which I'm sure you guys have heard of and are familiar with, was located, headquarters was Washington, D.C. Up until 1909, where did they relocate their headquarters at? Westerville, Ohio. The Anti-Saloon League's headquarters were in Westerville, Ohio. That printing press continued to grow. The College of Otterbein continued to grow. All of it was a dry. Everybody was employed by this printing press, which was dry. Continual fun facts about it. The post office was still a Class A post office. Prohibition started. They decided to continue to modernize and rebuild a post office. They started construction on this post office. They didn't open it up until 1935, which was after Prohibition ended. But they were building a much larger post office in Uptown Westerville to continue to handle the Anti-Saloon League propaganda that was going out. Where's our third location? Let me tell you where our third location is. Our third location is in the post office in Westerville, Ohio, that they built. Yes. And so, that location, yes, that location has a basement in it, and we also opened up a speakeasy in that basement for that location. Seriously, you guys want to follow me up? I will take you to.
Funnier
I will take you up there.
that I went to Otterbein to play baseball, and Otterbein was dry when I was there. I got an alcohol violation before my freshman year of college started at Otterbein College. I wasn't even in my room
Not
at the
right
time.
now. So
No.
I mean, it's just
No, it is technically. So here's the
Best
thing.
part about this
So
story.
sorry. So Westerville technically is still dry. Westerville passed a law in 2006 to allow the city to vote on specific locations to hold a liquor license at that one address. The whole city is dry still, but the loophole is now precincts can vote on that specific thing. So in 2006, the first beer was poured. It was sold for over $2,000 to charity. They raised money. I was like, who wants the first beer? So it was a pizza shop that sold the first beer. Somebody paid $2,000 to drink legally the first beer at a restaurant in Westerville, Ohio. And so now, like even us, we had to go on the ballot to get approved to open up our spot, to get our spot voted wet so we could actually sell alcohol there. But I will say that same thing too. This is, the city of Westerville is actually, I love it. I love living there. It's a great little town. But it's like you have this old school mentality and this new school mentality. People love that it's still dry. But how did ours pass? The highest, 90-10. 90% voted yes, 10% voted no. So it's definitely this thing of like Uptown Westerville is completely shifted to we're probably the 12th bar that's gone, or restaurant bar that's gone into Uptown that's been voted wet. So it's a fun story. So that's where, because for me, we don't have 3, 4, 5.
Was not in the works whenever all this started, right?
Correct, but I have been living in Westerville. I've known the story,
But just kind of take it full circle.
Yeah, I mean, for me, being a brand guy, like my background being branding, I want a story. I don't have 5 generations of distillers, before me to tell that classic story of any sort of whiskey distiller. But we do have this real story of the whiskey wars and what it is. And I have real history living in that town that whiskey war started. I mean, the fact that the post office where our new location is at, right across from City Hall, and at City Hall, they call it the Broken Barrel Monument. They have this fountain that is this deconstructed barrel, and it has all of these stamped in metal Prohibition stories, the Henry Corbin story, all that stuff across from the street from a distillery now. Yeah. And everybody loves it. Everybody loves the fact that this evolution of Westerville and what it's become, that we have the National Prohibition Museum in our library in Westerville, Ohio. And 2.5 blocks down the street is a distillery, right next to it.
So when you guys opened, did you go and shoot some guns in the air?
So no joke, we talked about that, about cap guns and stuff like that, about there's a riot, shooting them in the air. But
There at Otterbein, I lived in Garst Hall. Garst Hall was actually old army barracks. So
oh yeah, Yeah.
ties back to that.
You get away with it. Yep.
Yeah. So it's fun. It's a lot of fun. If you guys are here tonight and you have the ability to Uber up, I'd be happy to take
Just as
you
long as you're
by.
by 9 o'clock, because I hate to been late, you know. This is like a late. I don't know how much what your body battery's saying right now. So.
Battery, battery. All right.
Yeah.
So in 1812, Ohio was trying to figure out where they were going to put their capital. Franklinton was a major consideration. Franklinton was a city that was already established here. But the reason why they didn't want to put it in Franklinton was because it was considered the bottoms. It was at the low banks of the Scioto and Olentangy River Fork. And so the risk of flooding was too great. So they looked to the high bank of the Scioto and Olentangy River Fork, and they decided to build a brand new city called Columbus, Ohio, to establish us as the capital. So we get our name from the fact that
It is on the high.
yeah, on the high bank of the Scioto and Olentangy River, also known as Wolf's Ridge, which if you guys aren't from Columbus, but there is a very fantastic brewery here called Wolf's Ridge Brewing. I always say that we do a better job of telling their story than they do. But if you look at, we don't have any of our bourbon here. Oh, so he's going to grab you a bottle. You can see it. You guys are more than welcome to try it if you want.
This released like a couple
Last
week ago
month.
or something, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So if you can see the wolf on top of the ridge there, that's why we have that wolf on top of the ridge.
That's cool.
And the silver line there, that is a real map. I put the actual map of Columbus, Ohio, splitting. Yeah, go for it. Splitting. Yeah. This is
You should think
highly
about doing branding. Oh my gosh.
highly wheated bourbon. We're sitting at around 40% wheat for this 6 years. This is batch one. This is something that is I'm really proud of it, but at the same time I'm really excited for a year and 2 years from now on what's coming out.
Whiskey war is
Yeah. For batch
been hogging the.
that's a 93 proof.
From 93 proof. Like,
Yeah.
just like
93 proof wheated.
super
Yeah.
easy sipping.
Yeah.
Like, very nice nose. Like,
I-
40 like coming, right? Like a
Oh, got it.
Around that. Yeah.
strawberry-ish.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
Past where I'm.
Yeah.
Look at the handle of that bottle. Are you bartend?
I did. I used to.
I used to.
Well, he still does this weekend.
I'm Moonlight. Yeah.
Any events that we need a bartender, I know that we're none or where you'll be. So the other thing is with stories, probably another good reason why the temperance you want to actually gain stranglehold, and I mean, funding is a huge thing. The Welch family. So giving
Oh, yeah.
here at High Bank, I learned this from somebody, a random tidbit.
Great.
So
Yeah.
at the time of the Anti-Saloon League, the women's temperance movement, the Welch family was actually going around pitching non-alcoholic church wine at the time. So that's where they were a Methodist family, like Adam said, heavy Methodist population in Westerville. So Westerville was getting a lot of funding from a very, very wealthy family. Welch family, like I said, was just pushing.
Then they had the printing press.
Once
Yep.
they got into the churches, they had non-tax money.
So we have what's fun is the speakeasy in the basement. It's all about we have original. It's a post office. And so let me know if you guys actually want to go up there tonight. If you do, because
The cocktails
I will-
are out of this world.
Well,
I mean, it's at least like 10:30 already. So
it's 5:20. If you guys in all seriousness, if you guys do want to go up there, save you the Uber ride. I live there. I'll drive you up there. We'll grab a drink and we'll hang out. And then you guys could always Uber back down to where you're at or whatever.
you don't have to stay with us all night. I feel bad. Like, hey,
No, like it's on the way. It's on the way home. Yeah,
literally is,
because we can get
where
dinner.
is Ohio State from here? Like,
Ohio State's like 3 miles. If I can take you up 315 and I'll show you where Ohio State's at. We'll pass
Go
the
past that
field.
vintage toy store that's downtown to get some cap guns. So you're getting, I got to get a video of this guy shooting some guns in the air and then we get to the speakeasy.
Is this guy work on you?
That just like the back.
this must hey, here's what I want to do. I want to. I'm like, nope, not doing that. Not,
He shot me down about jumping out of a plane with a.
What?
Can you believe this?
Wow.
Yeah.
Great idea.
yeah, the marketing budget ran dry whenever it was renting 2 planes.
We're going high for this next day. Had one barrel thick a couple weeks ago, and it didn't happen this way. It was kind of on accident. They said, okay, I think we like this double and this one. And all of a sudden, we looked to our left, and we're like, oh, wait, you guys need even more? So it was pretty cool. It was a good time. But yeah, having the barrels around, it just makes it a little bit more fun,
Yeah.
These are actually the last 2 double words.
Oh, good.
So we're today again.
Even better. That's it.
So what we got here, you guys can see on these papers, A, B, C. We're going to start here on the sheet on your left. Everybody's the same, correct? Yes. So this is double oak. Let's taste through these. What I kind of find we're going to go through, as Dylan mentioned, we're going to go through, 4 different iterations of styles of whiskey. So we'll have these 2 mats, then we'll get 2 more mats out after this. We can always pull more of something else if you guys want. I think it's always good to start what's our favorite on each mat, and then we can kind of have a larger discussion at the end of which barrels you guys actually want to go with. So we'll start with double oak. These are already proofed down to 100. All 3 of these are exactly what it would taste like as a finished product. So we age double oak at barrel strength. We blend it, we proof it down to 100. So these have already been pre-proofed down to 100. So there's no surprises. You guys can see
They're like, it'll be proofed to 90 and just put a splash of water to get.
Yeah, no, I don't like that.
Doesn't seem we're not guesstimating.
Right. So A was put in last January. So this one's sitting at about 13 months in the first barrel. B was put in last February, so we're at 12 months, and C is also last February. Both B and C were from the exact same batch. Yeah, you can see that they were put in on Valentine's Day. So we're at exactly a year, just about on those. But what's always interesting, these are the same barrel or same batch of whiskey that went into new barrel, but 2 separate barrels, and how drastically different they taste.
They sat next to each other in the barrel. Same winter, same summer,
Yeah.
same moisture. Every single thing in this room was same, and it always blows my mind how much difference you get between those.
Yeah.
So big barrels.
Yeah. You guys have done this before. You guys can, I don't have to train you on how to pick a barrel, because you get people in here, like when we get the influencer groups that come in here, and there's 3 or 4 people that probably have never been on a pick.
Yeah.
So I encourage people, don't say anything while you're drinking, because some people will start overpowering, like, oh my gosh, see, you getting this and that, and then
especially
somebody,
influencers,
right, and
The coriander, you're right.
right, so somebody else that has never done this before, I like going around and I like making people vote on what it is that they like, and I always go to the inexperienced people first, just so then they're not being influenced by somebody else on that, so.
Power of suggestion is very strong once you start.
Yeah. The other thing too, I will say, there's not going to be a wrong pick. We do taste through all this stuff before we offer it as a single barrel. We're not going to put anything out here that I wouldn't personally be proud for somebody to pick. So, because I've been to some picks too, mostly the larger distilleries, where I'm like, these are shit barrels. Like I've been invited on multiple Buffalo Trace picks where it's just like, this isn't nearly as good as what you guys put out.
Yeah, I have 2 samples in my bag for Brian to try later, because not name the brand, it's one I love, and they sit samples. They're like, hey, we could probably get you in on the tail end of our barrel season. I'm like, cool, like, go ahead and do it. I tasted them all last night. I'm like, there's one I think is good, but that's about it.
Yeah.
I'm like, did we just get the dregs?
Right. Yeah.
But,
Want it to be in line with some of the normal stuff, that come out. And some people I want it to be crazy, right?
Yeah, and we go back and forth a little bit on that. We usually say, like, we're searching for flagship profile on steroids or something that off profile. It's hard because, not everybody has the barrels to compare to. It's like, this is off profile, but they're not as familiar with the brand. They're like, well, I don't know the original profile.
Right.
But in general, I like the funkier stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's just more fun to me to like. Bourbon it's got its, frame of flavor profiles you're expecting. So to get something different and unique is always fun. And I think it makes a better story. When we're doing 4 to 5 emails a week, it's like, well, what are we going to say about something? Especially when it's off profile. It's like, we've got a laundry list we can say about it and just talk about notes. And
Right.
I think that's, especially with like how crazy y'all get with the finishes, I think people are kind of expecting to
Right.
taste just
Agreed, especially because since you guys have this stuff in stock, like the normal stuff on your site in stock, if people want the normal flavor profile, they can purchase that.
caramelized, caramelly,
Mm-hmm.
bacon spicy kind of a deal going on. It's pretty thick and viscous, a little bit like orange peel that I'd really like. And to me, if I'm thinking double oaked, that's really tasty. But I mean, honestly, they're all really good. At first, I thought, I was going to be my favorite just because like a McDonald's apple pie on the nose. But kind of go back and forth a little bit.
Oh, it's good. That's a good nose note. I can. As soon as you said that, I was like, oh yeah.
I'm saving that in.
I think they're all really desserty. Yeah, I thought this one had a little bit more citrus, a little bit more apple pie.
Yeah.
This one reminded me kind of like hitting the same notes. You did a little bit like pumpkin pie, a little bit derby pie kind of combination there.
Oh yeah.
It's like thicker, but I really like how I like the middle one because it's. Whenever I like your all's profile because it does have more of that kind of the rye bite, but I feel like this one is more balanced than normal, but still has like a cheese, rich kind of cider like note as well.
Yeah. Where are you guys at?
As a quick
Dylan's B or C, because you can just tell by what he's drank.
I am biased with those Valentines. Again, I think filled 5 barrels that day. 2 of them are already sold at St. Barrels. They've been pretty good.
The one was in the air back too.
I know. Something I did.
But which was the favorite today?
IBC.
C was the favorite. I'm A or C, just based on both. So that's all.
I like whenever he said pumpkin pie, I think that is a little bit of what it's not the pumpkin spiked latte, but it just super rich and good.
Or if we want to keep it McDonald's, it's more of the holiday pie. You know what I mean? Like the custard and like heavily toasted, whatever.
Hard marshmallow.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I get too. Yeah.
I'm not saying you're the McDonald's of whiskeys. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that.
Dude, I would
But you might
love to be the McDonald's of
You
whiskey.
might be the McDonald's pies of whiskey.
Please let me be the McDonald's of whiskey.
Except for our ice cream machine is not broke here.
And by the way, I should
So you're saying you have an ice cream machine?
come clean. So I'm the sales guy, right? I do sales here. I love to drink whiskey. I love to have a good time. I love enjoying drinks with friends, but my palate is by far the least of anyone here. I have favorites, but mine are simple thumbs up, thumb down, little check marks, little pluses. I write notes of what you guys say, and I think I just absorb that best I can. My favorite was actually Beak.
Yeah.
That was the one I liked the most. But again, take my advice, the least of anyone at this table here.
Yeah, I'm between B and C. I like the nose better on C than B, but I like the palate better on B than C. So as I've once heard and now always say, you date the nose and you marry the palate. So I would have to go with B. Although to that point, I like both. I like both a lot. So
I am going to steal date the nose, marry the palate.
yeah, yep.
See, sharing.
Just all good.
So we don't have to
Blending.
we don't have to all choose right now, right? So we'll put a star next to B and C. I think, yeah, we'll put a star next to those. We'll move on to double double. Do you guys do you have an idea of how many barrels you guys are thinking?
That was a thing I probably should have asked to start. What's available? No, I mean we're open. I want to say as many as you give us, but like it's for us. It's always great, especially when we get out somewhere. If we could have like 2 to 3 drops worth.
Sure.
So if we said, okay, there's 4 barrels, we do 2 and 2. So there's 6 barrels. Maybe we do 3 and 3 or so. Or
Yeah.
something like that.
I would say I want them to be good. So let's just figure out. I'm not scared by 4 or 6. You know, if we want to do 3 releases and you're dropping 2 and 2 and 2, right?
Yeah.
But my whole thing is I want to make sure that they're really good.
Yeah.
And there's a diversity of like products that we're offering. And we can even think about, do we want to do a double oak release? Do we want to do a double release? And do we want to do a barrel select release?
But I think that first one had a little bit more oak, and then the second one there, like we talked about, just blended into that desserty.
But that's on A. I almost thought like it was French oak more than just even American. It's this kind of, it's just that heavier oak nose, which is delicious.
Yeah, it makes sense because that's been 13 months is classically a long time that, been
So
in that barrel.
Double doubles. So A, B, C, D. So May. So
This is the age. This is in the 3rd barrel,
Yeah.
right? So this is when it
would
was
have had about
correct. So it was already 12 months.
12 months.
Yeah, so we're talking
in it.
right? We're talking this. You're flirting with the 6 to 7 year.
Constant bonfire going on with all the oak bear, or at least a good brewery who can.
Well, so here's the other thing too. What we found have always sold well. So we'll do the custom back labels and all that stuff that, for these picks. It's telling that story. We did a whole double release in December. We did 3 single barrels of double plus a single barrel of Barrel Select. And we came up with the names for them, like Toasted Marshmallow and Oak Rock Candy. Like, people love to, in that name, hear kind of what they're going to expect on a profile. Yeah. It makes it way easier if it's like Toasted Marshmallow. I love marshmallows, right? So it's like, then they're like, I want the Toasted Marshmallow one, instead of some weird off the wall name of like after a song or something like that, that has no association with the flavors that you're about to enjoy, right? That's one thing that I think Maker's Mark has done a really good job with their stave series of Grandma's Kitchen and, baked apple pie and, just kind of gives you this flavor already.
Yeah, because we've done some where it's like Snickerdoodle or,
right.
Some of those, although the funny ones we've had recently is we've had these one picks. One was called Audrey. One was Robert. And it's after bars in Nashville. But we had more people reaching out asking like, hey, my daughter's name's Audrey.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, we got to actually write these on now. We're going to go to Cola Route. We're going to put everyone's name as a pick.
Yeah. Right?
Oh, my gosh.
We do that. Yeah, this opportunity, people should have reached out to I forget who said it, but it was Casey, was like, we should reach out to the bar and just like offer them some of those bottles.
Yeah. So
season nuts market can get in right. So
with double, there's obviously a lot of oak influence onto it, but you start going, what we find with that third barrel, the sugar content is a lot higher in double. These are also all barrel strength. So we got 118, 116, 116. So this is barrel strength, barrel proof, usually really nice and thick. If I had to drink one whiskey for the rest of my life, it would be double.
Which I think, if I recall correctly, when I first tried this up in your lineup, I thought it was surprising because when you hear double, I would assume it's going to be like leather on leather, but all the flavors like
yeah.
Yeah, that rye viscosity just provides enough of a playground for all of those flavors to spread out and not sit on top of each other. And yeah, there is a lot of leather, there is tobacco, but we also get chocolate and custard and
those are the same char 3. You say Speyside or
Speyside, char 3, hand toast.
So yeah, that's another thing that gives us a lot of variance within all of the double oaks and doubles that we are doing. They are hand toasted barrels rather than specifically medium light or heavy toast with a machine.
And it's too bad you guys don't sell beer.
you still have some of the packs?
Well, no, they're
Sorry, I interrupt. Continue. I got ahead of myself.
you could take home with. It's gonna look crazy. We have some partial fills, unlabeled. I'll give you those to go. I have no.
We'll get there. Go back. I interrupt.
Well, long story short, with the double oaks and the double, so for a lot of our empty barrels, we partner with local breweries. We pour we have a lot of taps up front. We give a lot of our barrels to local breweries stage beer in. But the really cool thing we found is with Barrel Fix, especially with nonprofits. We have a bottle that goes out with the nonprofit's name on it. Then we take that barrel, which literally was aged a double oak or a double with our product time entirely. Then they put a beer on it, then put the nonprofit logo on. So we have a Seelbach whiskey, then a Seelbach beer that comes out. But to his point, we had one brewery who took it even one step further, who did a stout line and basically took 4 different stouts across 4 different High Bank whiskey barrels. And they made each one of our different products. So they had a midnight cask, a cigar cask, double oaks.
Dude, it was...
And they
so
Bourbon County Stout.
Oh, man,
High Bank.
It was. And they're all 12%. They were all 12. So, like, it's one beer. What's the best is, like, if you had 2 of you drinking through it, you can drink all 4 of them then, but you're pouring, like, half pours of each one, and you're just kind of sitting there and enjoying it. Like, the flavors are crazy.
We sold out. We got like 7 cases. We sold out like the next day.
Yeah.
But they did it perfectly. Where like cigar cask, they got Amburana wood chips, threw it in as like a secondary aging. But the 2 cans you guys will go home with today, They are partial fills. They didn't get a label on them, so I'll tell you guys what bad later. But like, they're great things to take home. I took home one and had to drink it slowly because you have 12%.
Yeah, I don't know if any of you are on the social media team, but I remember mentioning like, are these gonna last for the barrel picker? And they're like, no, they are not.
Well, they won't be. Two, I'm pretty sure they're still there on the.
I think so.
They are. Okay, good. Yep, you guys will go home with those. Done. Along with other stuff, of course.
Now there. Well, I'm flying. So Brian, you
Nailed it, Albert.
Wait, you're flying tomorrow? Flying out tonight?
no.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say just to say that. Well, you try out right after this. So, oh my gosh, that would get rough.
When we were in Atlanta, it was really interesting because we were at the second distillery that we were at. They were telling us about opening a bar in the airport, one of the terminals in the airport, and that the other distillery was opening one in another wing in the airport. I'm like, well, pretty soon we'll just fly in and start our flight out like an hour and a half later, do our barrel picks and
Easily, because
calls it a day.
Urban Trail.
I'm into. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was like 3 terminals long. I totally missed my play.
Where's the weirdest place or best that you were surprised they had a distillery?
I try not to venture too far off the beaten path. I'm trying to think of where have we driven? I mean, the really cool one. It's not like crazy, but Ben Holiday's outside of Kansas City, but it's only like 45 minutes out. But you pull in and you think you're in Kentucky. Like,
Hell yeah.
yeah, beautiful.
rolling hills, bigger, probably 12,000, 14,000 barrel warehouses. Like, and you're like, well, this is Missouri. Like that was pretty. It's random.
All right, opinions on this yet?
So this one.
This one is harder.
Going back through, I think it did get harder. Wow, the top 2, that's easier.
To me, they almost progressed in tannins and oak influence, I would say. But saying that, I'm almost at like A and C again somehow. Sorry. Let me.
I'm just trying to preserve battery. You dog it.
I don't know. I thought A was great, but this one is much tougher because I feel like every time I go back, I'm like, yeah, I could be good with that one. It's about on all 3 of them.
I'm actually right in line with you. A and C are where I keep bouncing back and forth with. They're all 3 very good. There's not as much difference between these 3 as
No, they're pretty tight, and
Yeah.
even at at B and C are pretty close and proof, but slightly different.
Going back to what like we talked about earlier, where I traditionally get more oak influence from our double oaks. Like you said, you feel like you get more oak influence as you go, and the longer that they sit in that 3rd oak barrel, you lose that because the first one's been in there. I mean, the first and second one are a little closer, but then the last one there is.
Dude, what date is on there? Oh, it's not on there. H14. So it had like 190 days versus August 14, 100 days older. Yeah.
Real. Yeah.
But that last one, I mean, there's like a nice cherry flat cola
You know, on there.
Wow.
Listen to these praises all day. I love it.
But
Which I feel like was a note I used to like, but it's usually because of whiskey was younger. But then you realize like, oh, that's just the oak, and I feel like you get like a complex whiskey with that layered on with this, which is
that's where I feel like the dimensionals have always done very well balancing that oak influence, but dropping that tannic bitterness to where you get the chocolate notes, but it's not a bitter chocolate or a bitter tannic oak profile.
The A mouth, be honest.
A mouth feels good.
I was going. Nobody said it. B was my favorite initially, and then
Back around and A, just it's still in my heart.
I mean,
Yeah, I feel like it's just because I'm bringing the first one. Like, hey, where are you?
A got me from the very beginning because it's like a lot juicier. I feel like. I think B's like really clinging. It's really enjoyable, but there's a lot of things to really like about C too. So, I would say I'm probably between the first and the third, but I gravitate towards first as my personal profile. I feel like it's got like a little more caffeiness. That's kind of like my thing.
maybe like C on the double oak, A on the double double.
Oh, you're trying to get your way, Bull. we'll come back to the double oaks later.
That's hilarious. So it seems like everybody does like A. But again, we can always come back.
I mean, that is.
James, are you pouring the next ones?
Put a B next to.
Do we need to go wash any?
I can dump into a.
So yeah, that's what, another thing. Did you guys know
I was gonna say.
when you are doing a wine tasting, if you are drinking a red before a white in the same glass, all you do is rinse with the white. You swirl the white in the glass, dump it out, and re-pour the white wine in the glass. So that's even just going from a very probably bolder, a lot bolder.
To say.
So
I made you do it in whiskey. He just.
I'm just going.
Ramp things up, and I'm like,
You can just move everything to the front if you want, or above, if you kind of keep them in line of ABC, ABC. So if we do want to come back to revisit, we can revisit, and then.
Now the only thing, we're halfway through our journey, guys. The only thing that's to be weary of, I recently was knighted by Dylan's. Again, I'm a sales guy here, right? You guys are obviously familiar with the whiskey thiefing, how whiskey thief works, right? The longest time I was working, guys, I don't want to learn how to be a whiskey thief. I know it's a very smart process, but the second you give the sales guy the key to the kingdom, it's dangerous. Well, recently Dylan was kind enough to knight me. So my absolute favorite thing in this entire business is, obviously, guys, we're going to taste all 12 whiskeys here. But if after we finish 12 and all of a sudden we just look over there and see, oh, we didn't try that one, we may just have to see just one. No. Again, I'm a kid in a candy store. I learned how to whiskey thief. I might just have to show it off. You know, it's just gonna have to happen sometimes. Okay.
I just want the little that you want. I just want proof that you know how to do it.
So I mean, yes. I just wanted to flex. You know, it was like
I wanted to show them it's not anything that we haven't. And sorry,
that's our
one bus.
Well, you find some weird shit. You know, we'll just see the wacky shit over there.
It was hard. Very good time.
He was ready to go.
Oh yeah, I love the back at it.
Our very first barrel pick we ever did, and this was about 3 years ago. It was with a corporate group, same corporate group, yeah, the Waffens. Randomly, same group, their construction company built our third restaurant that we just finished like 5 months ago. Not even in play 3 years ago when they were just randomly our first pick. But their accountant came with them to pick the barrel.
As an ex-accountant,
and
it's always the accountant.
So we had 6 that they were choosing from, and I was like, okay, go through each of them, and then we'll talk. No joke, the accountant, he had never done this before. They were probably 1 ounce pours in each of these glasses. He just shot them, the whole thing's like 1 drink each for each one. He's like, is that not what we were supposed to do? I'm like, I mean, you do, you do you, but. Actually, he's like, oh, I thought we were supposed to finish. Yeah. No, like, dude, so then, like, you know, and we poured more for everybody that wanted more, and he got 6 more pours or whatever to kind of go through them. We were like, okay, we gotta control the pours, control the, like, I'm like, this was now everybody had to, like, they had to have their wives come pick them up. They were
his plastered. I think it was 2 brothers. He got really loud and boisterous, and his brother just like.
Yeah. It was a dad, 2 sons that are both working the business, one of their wives, the accountant, and there's somebody else. It was funny.
You get all the kinds of fun coming through on a.
Yeah. The corporate ones, man, are sometimes the best because it's not like there's no pressure around it. They're just like, we're here having fun. Like, we just want to pick a barrel for, you know, our staff to enjoy for gifts, and, you know.
They get it. They want to be fun. They just want to have a good experience. I imagine some of the groups where it's like, well, I don't know. We need to re-thief again.
Oh, dude, they will. Yeah. They will debate on what it is that they're picking. Also, we've never done a double French cab before. So we're always trying to change up, just put some flares to different things.
This is the first time double
has gone into a
other than da.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a double. It was a mistake barrel. Which ended up being a wonderful mistake.
Yeah.
But
We thought I had the best types of mistakes.
Yeah, we were double doubling at one. It was in there for about a week. It kept leaking. We couldn't get it to seal up. So then we pulled it and then put it back in a new oak barrel again. But just that age influence, the flavor influence for that first 7 to 10 days of being in that double barrel, it pulled so much in that just short period of time. And then it went back into a new oak barrel again.
It was such a short amount of time that it sprang a leak too. Because I think I had to leave, worked early during the week and go pick my son up in daycare. And so I was in here on a Saturday, and from me leaving Saturday evening to Mike, who you guys met, getting in here maybe earlier than 7 o'clock, it had sprang a leak, and there was what looked like a river of whiskey. I mean, I know it spreads out on concrete. Yeah, it can look like a lot when it's not. So we were like, has to get harvested. Put it into a fresh barrel. We released it, and it was like 40 gallons. And we thought it was so much less. It was so great.
It was definitely just sold out. It was one of our fastest salads. It was just double.
Completely sold out the whiskey society. Like we sold out a lot. And it moved.
Yeah, so it was a definite heavy oak influence on it, but it was like you got this cascading effect of like this fresh oak, sawdusty effect as well. E2 lighting this actual charred and toasted oak, but there was no cannic note at all.
The nose on this French cab is insane.
Yeah, and it's like super friskus and
Yeah.
like too. Like you kind of, oh god.
Feel like it's red velvet.
The easiest one for me to rule out would be the French cat.
Really? Why that?
So the
What's it?
when I run into like the kind of Blake's gonna yell at me. I feel like it's got some of like
We have different palates.
the clove type spice that I feel like are typical in something that would be like a double oaked or a toasted kind of profile that are in there, and it's not my favorite thing to run into. I think the flavors are a little flatter than like I feel like it's most comparable to this one, because while this one I feel like is jammy, it's clean, it's bright. I feel like this one's plump, it's sugary, like it's got this it starts great, and then it moves kind of into a little bit of leatheriness, and then
You're talking the double
flat. Yeah.
versus what were you saying about the Pedro?
I think it's really jammy. I think it's clean. I think it's got nice, like it's a little brighter, spiced. So I feel like there's definitely a fruitier influence on this barrel, but it also has other characteristics that are similar in other ways to some of the things we already tried.
Sure. Yeah.
I would agree that it has similar influences to what we tried, but if we want to be the Big Mac of whiskey, this is Big Mac. This is elbow cheeseburger. And the reason Big Mac, like, just deliciousness, everything.
It's all up on it.
I mean, Armagnac and this should not technically, I guess, because they're just barrel proof in that. So
The Pedro to me ends a bit metallic. That I don't love that finish on.
I think this is very peanut shell.
Yeah.
It's Cracker Jack.
There's just this metallic tinge, at the end for me. So it's like on the PX, which makes me want to take this and double it after, because it'll balance that out.
This is exactly what I wanted to happen. Because what I'm about to pull out, I think, is the best thing.
Do you have more?
PX, yeah. We have the old PX.
We have it here, like right now.
Not a model, but I make it easily. Yeah.
Well, we got somebody who knows how to feed, sir.
Slow down. We'll say that.
So here's, yeah, this is like he said. We don't really have.
Is it available to be picked? That's what I'm asking.
Well, the only release we have slated for it is June. And
Got it. So it's already pulled. It's already empty.
Yeah, but we have 130 gallons, which we could throw into another double oak barrel.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's gonna.
What do you guys think of the Armagnac?
This has the best nose to me by far.
I think it's like pretty well balanced with the Armagnac. Like you get some that are just like almost taste dosed with it, and this is like very nice. You get some more subtle like
So this is
rapey notes.
Yeah, like Adam said, the first time we've ever done this. So like, is there time frame that people usually age this in when you're presented with an Armagnac? I know it's French oak, being France's oldest distilled spirit.
It depends. I mean, I think some people are all over the place. Where some people will say unless they're a year, you're not getting true flavor integration with influence from the oak. You're only getting the added essential residual liquid that's in there. I've had them both. I mean, we've had some bourbons that were like 7 years in bourbon barrels and then 6 years in port, and you still got a lot of that portiness. And I've had them where it's like 3 months in there. It's like, yeah, it's pretty well balanced.
Yeah.
So it's so hard to say because each barrel is different. The bourbon, there we go.
That's the toughest thing that I mean, how far away from the whiskey do you want to get? I think that we're putting the thing is, I think we've put obviously award-winning whiskey that we're blending with purpose, and we're not putting the toss-outs into a barrel just because we need it to taste better. We're putting blends that we think taste great and would play well with initial influence or extra influence.
I think that's the hard part too, is because like weather changes, it gets colder. You're gonna, it's gonna be more in the woods. You probably have more whiskey out there, but then it gets hot, everything pushes out, and you get more influenced. So it's hard to say exactly when. I know like all the Canadian whiskey guys, they'll say like 190 days or something, like a little over half a year is all the oak influence you're going to get. Then after that is just oxidation, which that seems too young to be accurate to me.
Right.
But I mean, I guess there is something to that. But wait, you
handed me.
Oh yeah, I might have handed him mine.
So yeah, I mean, this PX, the first fill of that, double up. So yeah.
lofty
of amber on that. Some of the other barrels that we tried earlier, I felt like had some of like the sweet kind of cinnamon rolly type flavors. When you do some of the double oaks or double doubles, is there any Ambrana that goes back into those type of products? Or
No, so
what would be causing that type of sweetness?
So again, I think it attributes to the blend that we create, where it's majority rye, MGP 95.5 rye, and then it's a ratio of the 36 and the 21% that we put in. And it's not, I think one of the things where it's a bit of a cheat code, from the start, so many people that blend whiskey, it's just we're taking these, we're blending them together, it is what it is. And most of the time it's the same exact barrel that goes into, a batch of 10 or 12 or whatever, and it's the same thing. For us, it really is just like we have a specific ratio of the 95.5 rye, the 36, and the 21 that we're putting into every single batch. And those two bourbons going into that rye really round stuff out, and it adds these layers of depth that you're talking about, where you start getting into the baking spices and the cinnamon rolls and the ginger snap cookies and vanillas and that sort of stuff. That if you're just pouring straight 95.5 rye, it's good. MGP 95.5 rye is great, but it's flat. It is one-dimensional on product. You add in these bourbons into it, and then all of a sudden it starts really rounding out the palates.
Let me ask you this question then. So I would, there are a lot of people out there using the same kind of products for SKU, or just they're sticking just with 95.5s, they're sticking just with 21s, they're sticking just with 30, whatever.
Yep.
So you found the blend that you like.
Yep.
What is it? Blend. What is it that you're called? Is it blended straight whiskeys? Is that what it is?
American whiskey.
Or like what is it on the bottles? Is it
blended straight whiskey?
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would think other people have been afraid.
Oh yeah, because
of being that.
straight.
But we
embrace it.
Obviously had a lot of success.
Yeah.
Blended straight.
Blended straight
Straight
whiskey.
whiskeys.
Yeah. It's one of the other things too. When we started, we're at almost 7 years now, opening up our doors May of 2018. From the start, it's been very on our website and everything. Blending 7 years ago was not a popular thing.
Yeah.
It was
and
you're
blend out a bottle,
correct.
and it was like
Correct.
pure oil, or,
Right.
Just
And so for us, but everybody was doing it, and they were hiding the fact that they were doing it. And so for us, it became this thing of like, you know what? I'm going to post it on our website. I'm going to talk about it. We are blending a whiskey so we can make our own bourbon and age it properly, because what we care about is a good quality product. So what we blended is a good quality product to allow our bourbon to age properly, right? And so the amount of, when we first started, the reviews that we were getting were positive, but then you started getting all these comments, people saying like, I hear they don't even make their own juice. I was like, oh, really? Here's the link on our website that says we don't make our own juice.
You are correct.
Yep. It was this thing of like, we're not hiding it intentionally, right? If you look at our rick house here, stamped barrels, mainly in the back, all this stuff in the middle, not stamped barrels. So part of the tour is, these are the barrels that we source. These are the barrels that we have touched. These are the barrels that we have distilled. These are the barrels that we have reblended. Anything with the stamp on it has been touched physically by us. Anything without a stamp on it is something that's going to go into a blend to make whiskey war or something else like that. It's all part of just being. We're trying to be extremely open and honest in what we do, right? And all of a sudden now blending is not as much of a
People are coming around.
thing,
It's like,
right?
God, because Irish whiskey and
Yeah.
was embraced independent bottlers for forever.
Yeah.
American whiskey was like, oh, it's got to be the master distiller.
I tell these people at Master's Blend, or tell this joke all the time, that we're not reinventing the wheel, but the wheel that we create here rolls pretty dang well.
Yeah.
We got baseball players doing batting. Yep. Good.
He quite hot.
I feel like I keep trying to clear my palate, but then try to go back and forth and middle, and I keep getting different players on.
So, cigar casts a little bit polarizing. Do you guys classically like cigar casts, or you guys shy away from cigar
Well,
casts?
going what you're saying with Amburana, I think that I was actually surprised to see it fall off as much as it did, because I feel like there's a lot of consumers that are like, I want Amburana to die, and I feel like a lot of people were like, okay, and they just stopped, and so everyone's cheering, yeah. But I think that a lot of the early fills are just really, really intense. We were playing around. I mean, we had a skew, but we played around with some in a blend. It's like, yeah, you put that sucker in there for 10 minutes, and you put it in there 1% of a blend, and you're like, well, this just tastes like 100% Amburana blend. Like, it's so intense. But I love, because I've been able to try it from Starlight. They'll do multiple fills too, and just roll off the softness. You get into some of the desserty, complex, tropical kind of qualities. So,
Yeah.
The barrel's not being charred or toasted, and it just being oil influence from the wood, just to really, it has to be. You can tell when the wood has impurities. You can tell when it's not.
We had one barrel that came in that was like a salmon flavor to it, and yeah, it was.
The metallic.
It's like vodka in there, and it's like,
yes, I love it. What? Call it buckheads.
Oh, what is it?
It tasted like cedar plank salmon.
What's the who's the distillery that makes all the weird like blue crab?
Oh, damn it.
Whiskey. Damn, yeah. I just love.
damn, that was quick.
I just Spruce and Goose.
I'm like it actually.
What was it? Well, it was a goose flavored whiskey mixed with spruce infused Nutri-Grain spirits and a plum something. Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Their thing is to make us rich a lot, right? Yeah, so Hendrix, Sailor Jerry, so he's obviously done okay. Like, he's not depending on Spruce Goose sales to feed his family. But he has, like, they come out with all these things, and, like, we get these weird pops online where it's like they're on some famous show or some random person's talking about it just because it's so wild and crazy, and that's what they go for. They did a Ode to Musk, which was like a beaver land infused brandy, like a deer slayer, which was venison infused whiskey. Now, how much they're actually, because I was like, hey, could you give me just a little bit of this?
Selling
I kind of love the shock factor, though. Yeah, I'm a big fan.
I'm trying to find this. I had this mezcal that was here.
Where they steam it with.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. Have you had this stuff? Yeah. So it's basically
turkey and strawberry.
yeah. So I have a turkey one, and so I got this for Thanksgiving. My best friend and I, his wife and his 2 boys and my wife and my 3 daughters, we all get along great. So we skipped Thanksgiving this year. We got Hocking Hills about an hour south of us. Wayne National Forest, beautiful. We got a cabin for Thanksgiving instead of going to see our families.
Beautiful.
And so I got these 2 different mezcals. One was the Thanksgiving turkey, where they had a roasted turkey sitting up there, as they were distilling, and the other one was smoked duck. The smoked duck one, holy shit!
Just
The buttery duck fat spice,
for a smoked duck.
dude.
It'll take some duck prosciutto any day.
Yeah, dude. My God, it was so good.
There are milling grains in the barrel rick house of Jay Rieger. That's pretty balls, in my mind.
A small fire could just.
The most explosion. I mean, the most dangerous thing for explosion is milled grain versus.
It's such it's very fine grain mills and friction.
Yeah.
By the way, while we're talking about bats, it's a great way to say and bring up. I make my own deodorant out of beef tallow. Hey, I've heard you 2,000 guys.
Come on.
Perfect segue.
It's 220. One of our other co-owners asked, because I give a couple of guys around here as samples. I'm on version 9 right now,
Okay.
and I'm convinced that version 9 is perfect.
Yep.
I'm currently running tests on it right now, but once it's final, I will do a big batch and give out more samples. I will send you guys one. You guys get a shipment all of a sudden. It's a little bit university. Not to brag.
Sorry, guys, that's for me. I'm a
Not to brag, but it's the real deal.
You could eat it if you want to.
It is 100% edible.
I just saw so when I was at Whole Foods last, because I get the Epic bars, and they now sell jars of beef tallow. It's like
So I do render my own music on my hair. So I mean, and then actually the guy who passed out at the tasting I told you about earlier, his father-in-law's, he has organics too. Love it. Pasture raised, and it's not what's the new term that regenerative? Yeah, it's not regenerative farm, but it's all really good. And so he started giving me beef tallow too.
Spread the good word.
I do.
These guys know how weird I am. I have to bring it up into every conversation I'm part of because
I have to work this into.
So, he brought up duck fat, fast, beef tallow, my deodorant. Beef tallow is the future.
No, neither. I didn't. No 3. No 3 was thrown out.
Okay. He's done. I need to sample number 2. I think,
Which is
Wait, A.
B.
It's either 135 or ABC. We can go either way.
24L27CK.
He didn't have one.
Actually, I prefer that.
That is a 46 there.
So,
It's got
Do you know what number fill that is by chance?
plum ripeness.
Or could you go check? I'm sure we can count real quick. Yeah.
start at 5 is Forkville, first is 11th. And let's see how accurate I am.
So this. Okay. 4th fill.
11. Give us 11.
What is 11?
This memory.
This is like a height.
Yes. This is why I can actually walk away from the distillery.
This is cool.
But I actually didn't have a favorite on this one because I literally every time I eat a pretzel and then I start with a different one and I'm like I keep adding pluses on each one because I keep trying it like now I really like this one more.
I will say 3 tastes most like a
C
batch of our
or B.
B.
Yeah.
Tastes like a batch of our cigar. Outside of 3,
We go
outside of batch 3, which I think tastes like a single barrel cigar, which reads towards 5.
Yeah, 5 has the bright, tropical candy and the pineapple. Or
I could be swayed that way. Where were you?
5. I like 3 and 5, but 3's got a lot of the viscosity. But I feel like I feel like sample 5 is I thought the first sample was a little drier, had a little bit more oak shining through. I feel like 5 was a little bit more desserty version of what 1 was.
Cool. So 5 it is. Yeah, B. If we just could have something we could reference, like A, B, and C on these instead of us all. I got 1. I got 5.
I don't think it's letters to load it at.
It's like I didn't see them through my glasses.
I'm only using A, B, and C. You guys are the ones all has orders going on.
Really see it. I just know them as barrels. That's E.
Like I said, barrel 2024 820.
What about you, Adam? What are your thoughts on me?
It's a great question.
Yeah, I'm torn.
Yeah.
I give them.
I think lean into that. The interesting thing is just the cream soda.
C tastes lighter in the Umbranen.
It does.
Umbrani-ness.
Yeah.
So it's like cream soda. You talking about 5? Yes.
Black cream soda.
It's like A&W cream soda.
Because you saying cola, I'm like,
Yeah. You see, you go one's it's cola, one's cream soda, one's
That's cream soda dum dum.
yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that is.
There's a pop on C.
Big fan.
There's a really nice, to me, like this banana note on B that I really like. C is almost carbonated to me. Like it has this carbonation feel. Yeah. Like,
spicy pop.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
There's not a wrong.
as my brother would say, he called everything hot or spicy water.
yeah, ice water.
Spicy water.
It does have like a carbonator.
I remember the first time I went to, the only time I went to Germany. And like, I just got a bottled water from the gas station and I drank it. And I was like, oh God, it's all carbonated.
Whenever you're in Europe, it's like you're
Yes.
thirsty. It's like, can I have a water?
I just wanted to chug it. I literally, my wife opened it, right, for me. And then she handed it to me and I just like started chugging it. I was like, oh my, yeah, I didn't hear that. I was like, this is horrible. Fast forward 10 years later, I love carbonated water. That's all I drink from the fountain is soda water.
Weirdest when
Maybe those Europeans were onto something.
I love it.
E slides, C sits.
What does that mean? What do you mean? B slides, D sits.
This one just, it's great. I want to drink more, but I think it might finish too quickly. I think it just slides right on your palate and then it's gone. The flavors are great, but this one, C.
I think we start getting to the strategic aspect of it all depends on how many barrels we want to pick and what story we want to tell, right? Because I think there can be a story told for one of each of these products, double oak, double, barrel select, and cigar cast, right? Versus if we're talking about 6 barrels, there could be a story that's told with like 2, 2, and 2.
Yeah.
You know, maybe we omit the double oak and we go double, 2 barrel selects and 2 cigar casts, right? So I think it just depends on, and I will lean more towards you guys from a marketing standpoint. Understand, I don't care if you guys pick 4 or 6. I really don't. I want it to be successful. So stories you tell, what you want to write on an email, like that sort of stuff. What do we think could?
Which